Okay, so I hope this helps. So this is the question that you're stuck on, and it's just finding the inverse functions. Okay, and I understand that you can get confused with this. I don't use this function machine method. Okay, what I do is, if it's the f of x or the g of x or the a of x, whatever it is of x, I call it y. Okay, and then it's whatever that is. So the f of x is 1 minus 2x, and the g of x is 1 plus 2x. Now all we need to do to find the inverse function is we make x the subject. Okay, so if we take this one first, the g of x, okay, 1 plus 2x, we want x on its own. So this 1 is going to come over and it's going to change its sign, because floating pin, I think they call it. So we have y minus 1 equals 2x. Okay, we want to know what x equals, so x equals y minus 1 all divided by 2. And then all we do, and we always do this, is wherever there's a y, we change it to an x, and wherever there is an x, we change it to a y. So instead of y minus 1, we have x minus 1 over 2 equals y. And that's it, that's the inverse function. So we can say that that is the inverse function of the g of x. Okay, sorry, it's not very tidy, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so now we do the same with this. Now here the x, the 2x, is negative, so we want to make it positive, so the best way to do it is to move it. Okay, and I'll move this y away so that I have my 2x on its own. So I'll have 2x equals 1 minus y, and again x will equal 1 minus y all over 2. Then I just change the x's and the y's. So y equals 1 minus x over 2. Okay, and that is the inverse of the f of x. Okay, so we just write y instead of the f of x, g of x, whatever it is. We make x subject, and then we change x to y and y to x. This always works, it always gives the right result, and it gets rid of all this confusion of what's being subtracted from what and what's being divided. Okay, now to solve this part A, all we're going to do, and I'm sure you can do this, is we're going to substitute in the numbers. So we would have 1 and minus 7 over 2, so that will give us minus 6 over 2, which would give us minus 3, and then 9 will be put in here, so 9 minus 1 would be, we'll write it down, 9 minus 1 over 2. So 9 minus 1 will give us 8 over 2, which will give us 4. So it says what would happen if we added the two together. So we'd have minus 3 plus 4. So if we have minus 3 plus 4, we would end up with 1. So that will be our answer. Okay. So now it says that if we were to take the inverse of f and the inverse of g of x and add them together, it will always give a value of 0. This is really simple. We know that this here is the inverse of the f of x. We know that this here is the inverse of the g of x. And they're saying if we add them together, then we will always get 0. So we have 1 minus x over 2 plus x minus 1 over 2. So we can make that all over 2 because they're the same denominator. So we have 1 minus x plus x minus 1. Okay. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Minus x plus x is 0. So we get 0 over 2, which at GCSE level, any fraction with 0 in means that that is 0, and that is our answer. Okay. Strictly speaking, 0 over 2 isn't actually 0, it's what we call undefined, but you'd learn that at degree level. Okay, but as far as we're concerned at GCSE level, if ever you get a 0 in a fraction, then the value of that fraction is always 0. Okay, so I hope that helps. Whenever you get the inverse of something and you find it a bit tricky, make it y equals whatever that equation is, make x the subject, change the x to y and the y to x. Always. It never changes, and it really is that simple. Okay, I hope that's helped.